Indeed, finally, hey, welcome back, everyone. I'm Gary Legier, the Martian Villa, known also as the Mad Martian. And of course, you're listening to the Martian Revelation that's upon you all now. And we're with our guest, Ben Creighton, here. And very interesting tale of where this is all going. It fits into the scriptures, it fits into the ancient astronauts theory. All of these things on how they apply is what you
Coming together. Yep.
Indeed, and the ever more questions still keep coming as well. But
Yep.
that's the thing, though, to get those questions answered. I mean, asked and answered. As you get answers, you get more. And I just think
Questions
that.
too.
What do you think?
What's that? Sorry, you cut out.
What do you think about that? That's where it's all leading us to bigger revelations of where all the answers will finally one day be had.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, like I said, I believe that the average Joe probably has more answers. Well, they don't have the intimate knowledge that the government does, but at least they can talk about it, you know.
Right. So that being said, what we're talking about here now, in your opinion, what do you think that civilization was like? Who do you think they were? And I think we already got a concept of who you think and believe may have come and did with a whoopie-doo. But go ahead.
Who do I think the Martian? I believe they were look similarly to us. That's what I think. I believe that we're not the first version, and they were probably something similar looking and in thinking and in capabilities to what we have today and what we are today. That's my theory. That's just an opinion, though. I can't base that on, any
Could
concrete.
be.
Well, we have Martian architecture under the surface of Mars and the pyramids, of course, in the face. So we know that they could build things, right?
Yes.
Structures.
Carve up hemispherical surfaces as well.
So, and that requires a certain degree of technology. And John actually admits this, to his credit, that he doesn't know what their technological capabilities, how far they got.
In my opinion, he conservatively comes out and states a Bronze Age type civilization, and attributing to the Bronze Age of how we know the Bronze Age to be. It's a.
Well, the other thing is, were the Bronze Age people really that primitive? I mean, we would have a hard time building the pyramids even today. So primitive, I believe that.
Hard time, we can't.
Yeah, well, that's right. But if you look at that book, Lost Book of Enki, it says who built the pyramids right in there. It wasn't us; it was the Anunnaki.
Right. Human, and also they claim they've also been on Mars. You see, that's where, again, in dealing with at least a face, though many like to claim that it's Alalu's face, that's the face of Cydonia. It is not. It's described, Alalu's face is described as having been carved by beams from their craft from above. Nah, which I always said, Mars is artistically sculpted on an entire planetary surface. It was laid out from above. But anyway, so as they did that,
it could also be a reflection of what they look like as well. They look similar to us.
Of course, but they're not human. It's not, and that face does not share Alalu's whole face with an eagle helmet. There's no eagle on there, and in fact, it's not even a human face that has a Cydonia face. It looks more Kong, like an apish.
Yeah. I heard even it's feline.
Yeah, an apish hominid saurian aspect.
Yeah. And you know what? This
the other side.
This ties right back into the Bible too, where it talks about John seeing faces that look like a lion, or that look like stuff like that.
Ezekiel as well, describing the angels.
How would you describe a non-terrestrial entity? You would have to go by what you see on Earth, right?
And hopefully you'll be a good artist. If not, you only draw stick people. You're gonna try to find words. You know what I mean? So. I mean, I might have had a better chance, but then you got to try to find the words. And that's how, fiery horses, fiery chariots, meaning one damn bright ass fast effing UFO.
Yeah, they wouldn't have the terminology we have today. We can describe these things like a rocket engine. Well, I mean, we couldn't even describe an alien craft, but we wouldn't know how it
Right.
operates, right?
But we've been acclimated of all that.
We would
Again,
have a far better selection of
understanding,
terminology we could use.
right.
Yeah, right.
Right. So, but it's unquestionable about certain of the things that are described, and especially through the Anunnaki sense, because it brings a lot of even what's used in scriptures with a lot more detail, but putting their signature. Ah, and and it tells that they've been at Mars. There's other faces of Mars. One of them's Alalu somewhere. We're on the
Yeah, you know
hunt.
what? I wouldn't be surprised, Gary, if they were similar to the pyramid builders on Earth, since we know that the pyramid, if what Zachariah Sitchin said in his Lost Book of Enki is correct, that these beings built the pyramids, then I wouldn't be surprised if they're sort of a pyramid building race, and that's what we see on Mars, the pyramids.
He said that they had that was one of their way stations to bring the gold
right.
to, and,
Yeah.
you know, and between Nibiru and Earth, but problems started more eroding more conditionally there for them. But there was no hints that they were there for the things that was being done by what Dr. Brandenburg describes and all that too.
Zachariah Sitchin did not have
At
that.
least, I mean, maybe it did, but we don't see that record from. We don't see that record from Sitchin about that, and that would appear to be older than the Anunnaki tale of their presence on Mars.
I believe it is older. It is even more ancient than that. Yeah, I
so
think
that makes you wonder. Then, yeah, really
why
makes you.
Why didn't the Anunnaki mention what happened on Mars? You know, they if they have technology that is far beyond ours, they would know right away what happened on Mars, right? And wouldn't they start asking questions?
Yeah, indeed. And if it is them, that means they're still there. And what is going on with me and my bizarre world life regards to crap, it adds as evidence of signature more so of their behalf to validate, hey, this guy is crazy, but he's not crazy. We got him here for a reason. You know, it ain't us that's hiding ourselves about, on and under the surface of Mars. No, we just told you that, right? We just wanted you.
You know, Gary. 30 years ago, I would call you crazy, but not anymore.
Dude, look, I've had experiences as well. That's all connected with this and helped make my breadcrumb search a little bit easier, while still technically frightening.
Yeah, it is actually frightening.
Now, but the question keeps egging in my head. Surely no intelligent life could survive there. That question wasn't meant just for me. It insulted me. It compelled me. It really drew me to it and asked the question of myself. No matter, after every little step in this, as crazy as it is and was, I would have to adapt to be able to keep continuing asking questions and to live on with my life, not become all Brookings, and what they thought were scenarios.
Yeah. Well, even John mentions that he got depressed when looking at this.
Because I'm not John. I'm Gary Leger, and I actually listened to this. I'm not going to take away what I'm saying.
Well, you also are human too,
Is what I'm trying to say.
Robot.
If whoever it is that was on Mars, I just don't think that was the end of them. I think that it was done from above. Whoever was there originally, done her up from above. Therefore, whenever something happened, someone had to went underground and or away from the planet, and many people got caught in the mosh for the block.
Well, I hope there was what do they call it? A breakout civilization or something?
Yeah, how would they? Therefore, that's one of the model, right, Ben?
And then they came here, maybe.
Refugees to the Earth. Right. Yes. And even Hoagland says in that UFO diaries, even on the surface, though, it's part of the code. And someday we may discover that we are the Martians after all. Now, looking at it in the light I just explained, and how he's in the middle of this, and then giving out something on the surface, because this code did connect that they were the Martians, and they said that someday we would meet.
Wouldn't that be something?
No, it already happened. Now that, to me, personally, in order to keep pushing with what I'm pushing, which is I'm not trying to push anything or sell it. I'm trying to fulfill something that's been given to me and to solve a puzzle and to get the truth of, because I'm more than just personally involved.
You know what, Gary? The more perspectives we have out there, this is my another one of my firm beliefs is that the more likely we are to hit that truth, capital T. You know, so I do not discount any opinion.
So these beings then, whether they're Anunnaki, all right, that's one concept you think is possible. Tell us more about the others, if there are others.
Other than the Martians? Oh, you know, again,
of who they are or were. You know, did they come here from somewhere else and whoop-de-doo Mars up, or did they indigenously rise up through the course of evolution?
You're talking
to be able to do what they did to Mars and then be destroyed. Because how could they all be destroyed? I don't know. There's a lot of questions here that overrun other answers. Go ahead, sir, though. But if they're not the Anunnaki, that were the Martians, who then, what were the Martians? You think maybe they could have predated them even, right?
You mean the Martians predated the Anunnaki?
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, sure.
Anything's possible.
Right?
But
I mean,
personally, I believe that this is an experiment going on right now, and that we are like, I don't know, number 7 or 8, who knows? But that I believe the Martians were indigenous. This is just a belief now, right? I don't really have any proof for what I'm saying here, and I acknowledge that. I believe they were indigenous.
On this show.
And this being that we call God created another version of intelligent life, and when he was finished with his plan for the Martians, then he destroyed them. I mean, I know how bad that sounds, but that's.
Well, so did Sodom and Gomorrah. But you know, how bad did you feel for them knowing about them as much as we knew about them? Yeah, is that Satan's same question too? How can a loving God destroy, even though after everything he did? You know, he's on the stand now, and that's what his last accusation was. How could he destroy his own creation, throw him into a fiery pit to burn forever? And
I don't agree with the theology of hell.
Well, maybe for them,
I think it's just
maybe for them it could be that we see a sun, and if something burns forever, if you're of a certain material that you're not exactly human, that you could be encompassed by that to stay alive but yet burn forever. That's, I don't know. Look, the dudes look, but yet, is it impossible? The dudes are coming out of little warp holes from other dimensions, doing things here. I mean, all this.
I think it's actually likely.
Nothing at this point is really a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because these concepts and things, culturally and scientifically and otherwise theoretically, and what are the other LEs out there to attribute to this type of discussions of what it really represents, dealing with this on just could have been the Martians? You know, exactly. Were they indigenous? Did they have to go through evolution to come to the point they're above carving and tattooing up our planet? You know, and then this happened to them. How would they be so weak to allow that to happen to them?
They weren't allowed to get strong. They were crushed before they could get strong. And John actually deals with that. Whoever nuked Mars saw that the Martians could become technologically equal or superior, and they were cut short. So that's one possibility. And
that's true. You know, there's certainly things on here, and out of the puzzle pieces that we're writing on the notepads, just like this code and figuring out shit of what was true and not, I had to be taught like a detective. You should have seen all the pads I had, but one.
Well, I got notepads on my phone now.
So you know where I'm coming from, and that mindset, because that's how you have to be to build a case on an investigation to come to the fact that it's got to be a case, and then you got to get on the case on some people, or whatever or whatnot. But you still keep investigating. I have news before I get off the show of further investigation into that video and those images and what I was told. told? Why not be true to you all and let you know all the progress? And maybe that person's listening now. But all I'm saying is that the investigation's not over. Some
I have
people
so many investigations going.
the investigation did. So, all right. So if these Martians, let's say, were indigenous,
Right.
who, if it wasn't the God of gods coming to do that to them, could it have been the Anunnaki that came to do it to them? Since the Anunnaki want to claim some of the things scripturally as their creation, you see,
Absolutely, it's possible. But why would the creator of all allow that in the first place? That's my question. If he's so good.
Yeah, but
right. And you know what? This is actually perfect to get into my dyspheus
earlier about the resurrection. You mentioned the resurrection earlier. Well,
right.
what I could bring anything back to life when I win.
Oh, that's true, but I'm grim man.
I hear what you're saying, because cosmically, on a grander scale, cosmically, you know, to think about that, that's incredible. That they were basically subdued by an alien presence, an alien intelligence that obviously surpassed these Martians and did away with them. And is that more the line?
Yeah, that's happened. Yeah.
Now,
but you know what? This is actually a perfect venue to venture into my dystheism theory, where God is not necessarily wholly good. I did want to touch on that after the break, so we're a long time coming. Okay, so for me, this is just one aspect of what ended my faith. Another aspect was reading in the book of Deuteronomy 7, where he asked the Israelites to just commit genocide against the inhabitants of Canaan. And that is just something I don't agree with. I just don't see how a good, loving God could justify the killing of an entire, race of people, especially children who are totally innocent. They haven't sinned. They haven't done anything wrong. But he says, leave nothing breathing alive. Like, how do you explain that?
Well, let's go back.
It sounds like Mars, actually.
Well, it also sounds like pre-flood. Now, and when we consider that too, especially in the realms of the Anunnaki,
I think this is post-flood, though. Yeah.
The Nephilim were on the earth even post-flood. Remember, and after that. After the flood, and after that, which means what? Someone must have came back, which means they had the means to go away from this. And after that, because if they stayed on Earth, they would have been obliterated with everything else, supposedly.
Well,
right?
They could have built ships or something to survive the flood, but I mean, they definitely survived. Period.
Right. And they describe being above the earth in the flood, looking down on it, and regretting not having saved man or considering saving man. It was a plan more so than just more than what we're being told in biblical scripture and Noah. There was a lot more to this from the Anunnaki standpoint. Now, that is very interesting, because they wanted to basically voted to kill us off, but one of them said to talk to a Reed Hut.
Yeah, there was a rebel in there, wasn't there?
Enki. You know, the one who helped create us, that helped breathe life, with Mama there, Mammy.
And then his opponent was Enlil.
And his brother, right, Enlil. Yeah. And again, the Eden and all that stuff, aspects to this. And they were on the earth for a few hundred thousand years before
who knows? I mean, who knows? I mean, our history is a speck compared to what in the geological time scale of Earth.
And yet we're seeing light going on these bricks, which takes eons, right? The lichen type things growing on these older, high advanced bricks. That, well, it could certainly be them, or even pre-human. And
I've read theories
ancient aliens. It could be actually ancient humans. And if we are connected to Mars, being those refugees, that might fit a time frame. But again, Anunnaki or otherwise. And still, maybe they came to Earth before the Anunnaki too, for all we know. I mean, right?
Who knows how far this?
Exactly. And therefore, see, there's a point to all this. So therefore, when we're considering the who, the what, and the hows, we already got some hows, some high-powered hydrogen nuclear weaponry, which obviously has the Space Force's, eyes in President Trump's and others, and who knows what else I'm sure know of some already, since they need many more boots publicly, because we're coming to a time now where we must be told.
We have to move out. Sorry, we have to leave.
Exactly. We're going to be meeting these threats from deep space. The question is who and what, and the right sides has got to be chosen somewhere, in my opinion. But I think in theirs too. Look how fast they had to come publicly to build it. And while saying we're going to put American boots on the face of Mars, and everyone's clapping, so oblivious. They don't even know what they have to.
I know.
So on that standpoint, all right, what if it's, again, attributed to the God, the capital G, like Mr. Sitchin used to say, and that instead of Anunnaki or just Martians in general, some other race, that he had subdued them because they were fallen angels. What if they are the fallen angels as described in one of Mr. Cellier's other so-called quote-unquote Mars?
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting theory. Yeah. I mean, it's possible that because nothing spirit, you can't kill spirit, right? So he would just be killing the physical vessel of these rebels, and then, but that doesn't explain why he put them on Earth and Hades, right? So why wouldn't he just leave them on Mars?
Hades, I believe, is the grave. I believe is the grave. Hades, worms crawling in and out. I mean, that only describes, the grave. And, Guyana is a place which is a garbage pit. That ain't hell. That's a fiery just dump outside of Jerusalem, which is described as what people would be thrown in, whether that's true or not.
The lake of fire, where is that? Is that on Earth?
It would be probably in a realm to where we would have to be like him to see it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Another universe. Well, bingo. Now, was it those type of beings who are also Mars, and therefore fallen angels? Because in that UFO diary, that Mars episode that Hoagland's in, much older, yet he doesn't remember who filmed so much of them. But anyway, and he says this. And remember, the scripts is everything. So the Martians, what are these fallen angels who rebelled against God, their creator, who made these monuments and structures to give glory to God, their creator, but they rebelled against him, and God, their creator, destroyed them. What you're saying is fitting the model that's in that Mars video, and nothing is in there by coincidence, is what I'm trying to say. And only certain people that might be following my madness down through time would make a note of that.
Well, my book actually goes, I believe you're close, actually. My book says that the fallen angels led these primitive beings on Mars into rebellion against the creator, who then destroyed them. So that's another aspect. But
yes, indeed.
And that's actually a good point to tie back into my book regarding the why, is that when you look at, Revelation 12 or something like that, where Satan will lead an army against, it's Revelation 27:9, where he will lead the nations to battle at the end of time after the 1,000 years together for battle. And then what happens? Oh, fire came down from God out of heaven and devours them. Isn't that wonderful?
Well, it sounds like...
I'm telling you guys, we have to wake up. This is... It's getting serious now.
That's a space battle being described.
Well, it's not only a space battle because...
Shooting it down on the Earth. The enemy's here. Woe to the Earth, right?
They're battling on Earth out near the New Jerusalem.
Right.
Which is a spaceship.
That's right, 1,500, a big square, or according to, who was it I had on my show? Patrick Heron, the Pyramid of the Apocalypse. And it could also represent a pyramid.
Or pyramid.
Yep, a cube or a pyramid. And I was like, no crap. And things started to make more sense. He's deceased now, too. Isn't it funny?
Why are all these people dying? What need them most?
Well, I got them on archive and on record, and I did that as a personal favor for Mr. Cellier. And that was quite a good show, and it helped me look into it more, especially because of the symbolization of a circle and a pyramid being fingerprinted in this code as an attribute of signature, I guess,
Well,
of the
the
design.
pyramid is interesting because there's also pyramids on Mars, right? So
Oh, yeah.
if this race is a pyramid building civilization, that's their trademark, sort of. Then it wouldn't surprise me if the New Jerusalem is a pyramid.
Even the faces of Mars are pyramids. And Mr.
That's a
Cellier
huge
did that
pyramid,
too.
though.
Oh, yeah, a mile wide, a mile and a half long,
1,500 miles, isn't it?
Huh?
Isn't it 1,500 miles?
No, it's 15. It's a mile and a half in length. The face at Cydonia.
No, I'm talking about the New Jerusalem.
Oh yes, the New Jerusalem. Yes,
It's
that's
huge. It's like the U.S.
1,500 foot wide, high, and everything, which is attributed, like you just said, as a cube, as well as its points and all that comes out.
Well, its height, width, and length are equal. We don't know if that's a cube or a pyramid.
Could be both. If you think.
Oh, yeah, that'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But would it? I don't know. But that signature was in this code too, and therefore, and that's where the Masonic part comes in, the spooky part. Because one thing I admit inside this code, from both stories I was getting,
right,
it was one side was the Martians, the other side was this intelligence, and then obviously signaled and signified as being Masons. So they were. These two sides appear to be at war with each other, and their numbers have representations of what each side is. One side is attributed as being 19.5. The other is attributed as being 33. Symbolic, more things that I don't understand, and I don't want to go
I mean, this goes so deep. I mean, you look at the architecture of Washington regarding your Mason conspiracy. It screams it.
If it's their language, therefore it makes you wonder, is it of the same technology? Because that's where Patty Heron was going. That forgive me, people. That's why I brought him up, is because that he said that since these were fallen angels, they had the same technologies. So why people be surprised when they think of what we get to see on Stargate, that these enemies and various evil ones are cruising around in pyramid starships? Because they it's mimicking the technology. It was just a power struggle that obviously one side lost 30% of them. And why would not they have the same technologies? So Mr. Heron was right in a way that would fall into what you also as being right, because if those beings went there to subdue the indigenous Martians, they may have had this technology. And then the one that gave them that technology was chasing them down. And for all we know, maybe the Martians sided with them. We don't know.
I believe they did. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been nuked, right? So
well, probably, especially if he has the
means. At least I hope so. I hope he doesn't nuke
right.
Good people.
Well, right.
But here's the thing. Like that's what he does at the end, right? Is he just kills everything. So. Oh, it really is disappointing to figure this out. Like it's not something you gotta
consider. You also gotta consider the part though where it always says this, the replenishment.
Yeah,
I mean, if anything, I think I hear what you're saying, bro.
Like I don't know.
I'd agree. I would agree 100% if it wasn't for that. But the replenishment, I mean, that it's like that. Oh, that gives that hope. But
I don't like either side.
I know it seems so.
Seriously,
man.
Satan has his agenda, which takes away the freedom of the peoples of Earth, and God has his agenda, which does the same thing. So, like, what do you pick? I'd rather pick a constitutional republic. And I go that route in the book as well. I say that. I was like, we don't have to pick a side. I'm done with these aliens. It's time we write our own future.
They're not going to leave us out of the picture when they come battling each other, if that's the scenario.
Well, then we better have the technology to resist. That's what I'm saying. We better get.
The resistance say, "Hey, I don't want to mess with either one of you."
We don't want to play host to any of them. Seriously, just keep them out of here.
Thus the need to leave Earth.
And
Either way,
it
puts a demand to build those 1,000 big effing rockets in a real hurry. You know,
I believe they have the reverse engineered the craft treat at Roswell. So I believe we have what do they call it? Electromagnetic gravitics.
Right.
That's what Stephen Greer says. Calls. It's not anti-gravity. It's electromagnetic gravitic because that's what they use. So I'm more inclined to go believe that we already have that technology. But when is it going to be rolled out? You know, that would end the fossil fuel industry overnight. Done. You can kiss all those energy producers goodbye. And that's another reason why it's being kept under wraps. Is there is a monetary aspect to all this, the control. It's like these people in power, the Masons, I don't know. It's far beyond the Masons. I believe there's off-world entities running this show.
Well,
we're kind of caught in the middle.
They claim to be the Martians, which means if anything of what I'm saying is true, if they are the Martians, if we're to think about it hypothetically, of course, for most people, because I'm crazy. All right, crazy. But if it's real, and then these Martians are showing that they were able to send the message down through time, showing us as part of along with an alien artifact, along connected to a mathematical problem you have to solve, where you're asked a question afterward. Surely no intelligent life can survive there. Now, it wanted us to know this too.
I believe that the face on Mars, and as well as the pyramids, as well as the underground structures that we will get into in a minute, are a time capsule. I believe that they left data up there for us. If we ever get that far, if we ever get to Mars, they will leave the culprit. They identified the culprit as well as their culture. They preserved as much as they could underground.
Just like the Jack Kirby.
Now that doesn't include the possibility of a breakaway civilization, where that's also possible, where they just left and then they created this structure underground with all this stuff, and then as a remembrance thing, you know.
What if they're still home?
Yeah, that's also possible too. I mean, it could be someone left the lights on.
And not only that, Hoagland pointed this out on my show 2 months prior to me bringing forth the UFO Diaries. What a coincidence! But anyway, he said that we were discussing Mars reconnaissance orbiter and how it was publicly being touted, literally, as investigating, reconnoitering a foreign planet. Foreign. He goes, Gary, do you understand what is being said? I said, yes, foreign means nation. And he goes, exactly. So what in the wording behind the scenes, he was getting me to see this code done too, damn it.
Right.
But anyway.
Now they all speak in code.
He goes,
I'm a little more straightforward.
He's a part of that would be great. But what I'm connected with and trying to do and must reveal, this is an oddball reality, but he connects to it. So he says that a foreign planet, therefore, that in the wording that they're telling us who's really owns Mars. If it's not us, and we're doing
not yet anyway.
Planet, but he goes, Gary, do you understand the language? And he goes, I said, yeah, clearly. And he goes, yes, they're telling us someone is still home. Someone's still, so, you know, putting all these things.
That would be nice if they still actually exist. But how long can you survive without a biosphere? That's my question.
You're under the surface, you have your biosphere, you have your atmosphere, you have your cities, you have everything that they've been able to do and maybe minimize their lives. Their lifespans must be longer, in my opinion.
Maybe they're in cryostasis.
Maybe the original Martians, not just maybe hybrids of humans or Anunnaki that may still be around too, for all we know. You know, with mingling with them. You know, I mean, how do we know? But if someone's home
until we go there.
Well,
I hope we get there soon.
I received the message, and I have to believe, because of the things inside of everything I've said tonight, as crazy as it is 100% absolutely true, and is what must become fulfilled and revealed to all, because it's evidence as an alien artifact being presented in various forms to show that this communication is real, to let us know who they are. And maybe it's because they know, are we going to go to war with them, or is it because it's time to introduce, because they know we're going there, and it's
They're
bigger.
trying to warn us.
This plan that we're on may be theirs to begin with. Remember, Ronald Reagan said, "Is there not an alien presence already among us?"
Yeah, they kind of phrase their answers in a question, don't they?
And well, soon we may discover that we are the Martians after all. Now, if so, does this mean that we are the Martians who claim we Sunday meet? These are words in the damn video and connected to things of which I've seen and been led to see. But I, like Nicolas Cage, I closed that book of secrets because I wanted to grab what I guess what I was intended to get and get out of there, because people are running up the stairs after me. Ain't that right, Hoagland? You were surprised to hear from me that I was still alive. You lost track of me. Oh, and you said that on the air. I'm not bullshit. How many people? What does that sound like?
You know, speaking of Hoagland, why don't we give a link to his site there, Enterprise Missions, and you scroll down. We're going to talk about the underground structures.
His website changed.
It did?
Yeah, it was never Enterprise Missions. It was the enterprisemission.com. Or
now it's the plural.
Now, yeah, but it's gone. But yet, lo and behold, look at the very bottom of the page.
Yeah, you scroll down.
See what show logo you see on that page. Ask him why.
Well, you scroll down to, it says Enterprise Mission Cydonia IR images. This was taken infrared. And if you click on that, you'll open my second edition of my book.
When's that coming out?
Whenever I get around. Probably.
Obviously, you're getting into data now, to which, when you describe the IR, because Keith Laney did most of that work for Hoagland to present, and that gets into the BAMF thing and the whole history. Skullduggery, nothing new. But the images that he presents,
laid it all out. They just have the theory behind it. Why would the Martians build underground structures?
Well, why are we?
Because of this threat.
What threat?
This alien threat that wants to destroy.
So if that's why we're doing
it, talking about the dump, right?
Maybe that's why they're doing it, or they done it.
That seems that they were intelligent.
Yeah, more than that.
So anyway, you click on this, and it says a city under the ice at Cydonia. And it looks like a bunch of pixelated blocks, but if you zoom in, you start to see structures.
It looks like you're looking
down. It looks like a city.
Like you're looking at New York City and everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's incredible. And you know, the other thing is, the Russians found this.
He explains about some of that. By the way, you should hear from him. He's the one that processed that. That shows in the archives somewhere here.
Sorry, who?
And he details about what you see in some of these. Keith Laney, yeah. Oh. He's the one that processed those images to show what is there. But he also has other opinions and factual statements that lead him to say some various things about what you're seeing in those images. So just before you know, I mean, you know what I mean?
Hoagland goes into his explanation, and they're like, at first they didn't know what to think of this data. They're like, there must be some interference. And then no, they realized they did it again and again, and they realized that this is actually what they were finding. And it was confirmed by the Russians, I think it was a few years before. When they sent
yeah, showing the infrared images of Hydro 80's chaos.
Well, it's in the our IR analysis. You click on that, you scroll almost to the bottom, and then he mentions that the Russians found it first, and then this was confirmatory for them. So, I mean, it's just, this will be in my, yeah, here it is. It's how could noise, quote unquote, that's what they called this, these pixelated blocks, could occupy the same area and location on images taken 25 years apart by completely different instruments and a completely different spacecraft is going to be a tough hurdle for the usual suspects to clear. So they have confirmatory data from alternate sources. That's what they're saying, from the Russian Phobos 2 spacecraft in 1989.
Yes.
So it was after.
So and
No, it
there's
was before. It's before, because the Mars Odyssey was
you
2001.
have nighttime and you have daytime, and it shows the opposite. You know, the heating spots, the cooling spots.
Yes.
You know, depending on therefore showing the materials, and it's
Somebody
points
left the lights on.
Exactly. You know, someone's home. You know, we've seen that movie being attributed with that concept in Mission to Mars. Someone's home. And they had to solve a code, which nearly killed some who were involved. And one figured it out. The door opened. There's me walking into the UFO Diaries center of the pyramid.
Yeah, and then you go through they recorded their whole history.
Which is the secret libraries, Hoagland references. That's what it really means, where you're given information, and you've seen that being attributed in Mission to Mars as a virtual solar system with a replay going on in HD and 3D of what happened, of what they want us, the concept of what happened. An asteroid hits. Yeah, that's what destroys life. Everyone leaves but one. With a coded scenario.
Could an asteroid destroy an entire planet permanently, though?
Well, I guess if it's big enough, you know.
I suppose it could just burn up all the water.
Conditions of the atmosphere. I mean, I guess there's a
lot. But I mean, you know what? It probably something happened like that to the planet that occupied the asteroid belt, right? It collided with something else. Well,
there you go with the Anunnaki story. What it collide with.
but the Mars discovery is different, though, because we have these.
Mars is the moon of that planet, a potential moon. So if Mars is a potential moon of that planet, well, we do see some definitely bombardments. But my problem is, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because I believe Mars was entirely sculpted artistically on an entire planetary scale before the whoop-de-doo happened. And because there's evidences of where the whoop-de-doo happens, and you crater edges and you see them modified, which would have had to have happened after the fact. So that should be some type of rebuilding or reshaping to try to capture the original sculptures intentions. And what do I mean? Because if it's sculpted in a certain way and put in a position to where how the light hits it, if they're in some other galaxy or a solar system somewhere, they could pick up all the flashes they would from their artistic cosmic beauty, which would tell them position of where the planet would be. And I don't know what the hell I'm saying right now. It's just coming out of me. It would tell them.
Oh, that's good.
And it would flash out by the way it's carved, depending upon its orbits at times of the year. The way its flashes could throw out a language meaning safe or in a good position or something's wrong or we're in a bad position. I mean, or what other information that could be sent via light. We know that Mars, periodically, every 40 so years, the Japanese have noticed this too, and it's and many others, and even Hoagland in the past have brought up good discussions, because this brought up the good discussions about the true colors of Mars because of the flashes that would apparently come off this surface periodically. And my model, if it's
we've seen video of that, haven't we?
Yeah, there's pictures of that, yes, and I believe video glimpses, but I predicted that because it's sculpted that way, and therefore at certain times of the year, depending where the tilt of the planet is, it was meant to shoot that reflection off the planet, and if we're seeing it, someone else is seeing it, and they know if it's a stable or unstable, if it's a language and a communication and or a means to send information, being pyramids everywhere, and light. Remember, it's throwing off light. It's reflecting the light. So what if the transmissions are being reflected off of those that light as form of a technology because of how they carve things. And you said it earlier, they could map the whole history, you said, would be there for us. What if, and you said it's seen in the structures, it's beyond the structures. Think of the whole planet as a structure that has been carved up and designed for who knows what. Was it before the event? If Mars was a sculpted moon? Is this impossible? Look at Iapetus. That's not a natural object. And we've already had some interesting shows where also leads to Hoagland. Where's Moonlit View Part 7? And I was asked that by more than one person, and for their reasons, which I'm sure Hoagland grasped. Look, all I'm saying is that whoever did that, and if they were indigenous, and it just bombed out, all that being done pre-event, just think of what was it, us mere humans, or was it a higher than human original Martian, to where even an Anunnaki aside, or maybe the Anunnaki included, used us and them to create who and what we are, maybe connected to. In that sense, we would be part of the Martians also on one face of understanding, wouldn't it? But then we would also be part of these Anunnaki. Therefore, if people, let's say, Scripture said again, you guys are going to burn in hell. Why? Because then you're saying you're part of the fallen angels' seed.
I don't understand why anybody has to burn in hell, to be honest with you. Like,
well, I don't know. Those are bigger questions. I think when that time comes, if we can stand and have the balls to ask it, more power, but all I know is that something's going on, and maybe those reasons are going to come forth to you. And it would be nice, because maybe that's what you're here for. Look, leading you up to a moment in time. I'm not saying it is, and I'm not trying to sway. I'm saying, what if these intelligences that we're even talking about have a higher IQ and ability than we do?
Oh, yeah. We think we're so superior.
The Anunnaki, they describe scientifically how we know with genetics. They tinkered with us to take attributes of that would make us like them out.
Yeah,
long life.
Well, they dumped us down.
Huge schlongs. I mean, whatever it is, or to give humans even, or to prevent them from living long. But how's
this theory?
Huh?
That the original language was telepathy.
There you go again. Because now, if they're that masterful and intelligent,
and then at Babel, we were confused.
Say that again.
At the Tower of Babel. That's when he took that away.
There you go. When you said you don't think we're meant to be off the earth, I was going to say that. Babel was supposedly, especially the Sitchin side of it, Anunnaki, Babel, the tower, was much more than just a tower, and it had to deal with us being in space. Is that why you brought that up?
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, you see how all things, at some points we get to the point, but it's still interesting, and it's a nice way to break the ice with you, sir, on this show, and hopefully create.
I'll be back.
Yeah,
do you want to give any of your listeners a chance to ask questions?
I was just told they're all just listening to us, no questions.
Really?
They're enjoying it. They're holding. They're listening.
Well,
it's interesting.
I'm sure they will have questions.
Well, definitely the next time, and/or when it's over. But they're more than welcome. And you know what? Let's blow the line, the cobwebs off the timeline. I should have done that earlier, but anyway. 202-684-6955. 202-684-6955. One more. 202-684-6955. And you can call on in the timeline if you want to ask Ben Creighton a question, or would like to add your input. What do you think this all possibly is? I mean, now we got Mars with a green halo. Again, nothing's coincidence. It just happens to be the colors of the show. Why is that? Because the spirit of the Martian revelation is in
little green men.
Find out down through time. So, and it makes valid, interesting discussion from the insane to the totally sane, and to me inspiring, because it creates the need to get answers for questions that come to mind. You can't learn to deal with anything unless you learn more about it, especially if it's an enemy, an advanced enemy.
We have to know our enemies for sure.
All right, so like I think Ben has spelled out pretty much for us that this God, capital G, has did the whoop-de-doos on Mars as well as on Earth, and maybe coming back. And we do know that scripturally he's coming back, but
we better be ready for the day of the Lord.
Indeed. Indeed. And you know what? And that, no matter what people's faith is, it touches either way. It brings questions of the same caliber to your type of faith. And that I'm convinced that we must see and have to come to deal with, in the terms with, and to face, pun intended. And
we will have to face it whether we want to or not.
So what is the name of your next book going to be? Can you at least...
It's going to be same title with a second edition.
Huh.
And it'll get into the Martian response.
So that means you're going to be showing the images like the IR and all that.
Yeah.
Like you
That'll be one response. The other response will be breakaway civilization.
See, that's what's pertinent. Because again, we may be the Martians after all. So, what if
I hope not. But the time
we
thing
different?
comes back.
Could it be that we're different, and they refugeed here, whether they're the Anunnaki or not, and they still made us, and then the Anunnaki show up at some point again? They're in the picture too. It's the time frames. Refugees back to Earth to Mars. For all we know, that could have happened a couple times, eons ago. Left evidences of certain things that are buried in the earth from eons ago that we don't see. Remember, Atlantis is gone. Why? Because it was swallowed up, destroyed, buried in the earth.
Well, have you heard of the theory by Graham? What is it? Hancock?
Graham Hancock. Yeah, I'm trying to get him.
Where he said that Antarctica was where Atlantis was.
That's very possible.
And that we can't see it because it's under 2 miles of ice.
And look at the movie The Predator that time. They wanted to acclimate us to that idea.
Alien versus Predator?
Yeah, coming from an area where there's heated anomalies and magnetic anomalies as well.
And don't forget to mention the German U-boat base down there, the New Schwabenland.
New Schwabi. I think that's where Schwabi came from. Where's Schwabi?
I mean, who knows where this goes, Gary? But we have hints, and one hint is the scriptures. The other hint is what John has brought us. And let me just say that John has been aware of my information for about 4.5, going on 5 years now, and I have nothing against him. Like he's worked for the government, and he would be muzzled if he wanted to speak his mind. Like, honestly, they would. Right. I don't know what they would do. I don't even want to know what they would do or are capable of.
First alluded to such things.
But I know that once you sign those disclosure agreements or non-disclosure agreements, you're tied down. So
which is why we, the public, must do it if we're smart enough.
I believe
we're not going to be given disclosure the way we all thought. Again, think back to Hoagland's words. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but yet everything I'm saying is 100% following his model. People just don't want to see it. Some crazy
disclosure. Yep.
That's right. And so it's not crazy or far-fetched. This show is more relevant than possible. So how long until this new book comes out? Is it going to be this year?
No, it won't be this year. Probably within the next 3 to 5 years, I'd say. And
wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it took a while to finally get down and write this one. So now that it's out there, though, now that I've gone on your radio show and actually given an interview, maybe that'll spur me to write the next one. But at least people know, in case something happens to me, God forbid.
All right.
Where this is going.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hopefully I'll get around to it sooner than that. But that's
it's an eye opener for sure, man.
Definitely. What we have found on Mars is just that this is our breakthrough. This is our breakthrough moment.
Have you talked to Dr. Brandenburg about this? Did you send him a copy of the book?
I don't know. He probably does know that I wrote the book, but when I first messaged him, I asked him just to make sure that somebody was on the other end. At what height the explosions were detonated at, or the nukes were detonated. And then he got
Right.
back to me on that, said about 100 clicks. I was like, oh, okay. And then I brought this Day of the Lord stuff. I brought out the heavy gun, the Day of the Lord. I was like, oh, I think I know who did it. And then that was it. I haven't heard back
I'm
from him.
going to say this to you, that you and Dr. Brandenburg, he would understand completely. I know that.
I have nothing against him for this.
I mean, in what you're describing, he would not shy away from that. I'm just saying how I know him personally, and it's a very tricky thing that we live in, a world we live in, and
we've got so many other factors to worry about than compared to like you and me. Like we have no non-disclosure agreements. We can talk freely, you know. And that's the beauty about America, is that we can speak our mind and
at the
not
moment
sent to a concentration camp.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to take away from us, you know. So we're kind of in war. That's why I support Trump 100%. Where we go one, we go all. Raw.
Well, I think Trump is he's a part of the elite for sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got in there. But if he wasn't a part of the elite, he would disband the Federal Reserve immediately tomorrow. Then I would know he's not.
That's coming after his election. Look what he's already done. He's got them. He's got the wand.
I hope so, because that is the monetary power.
We're going to the gold standard. He's using their weapons against them, creating free cash. How do you think a lot of this shit's been getting paid? From false money. He's using against them to take their system, use it against them to destroy them, because they were destroying us, to bring back our nation great, and to have an economy which he's been setting up deals, tariffs from the Chinese, which deserve a lot more now. You know what I mean?
China's gutted your country.
And gold, yeah, well, that's not anymore. President Trump alluded to that again. And
he has done stuff. Really good, yeah, for sure.
We have that vision now to become great, even greater than what he is describing, and he was being conservative.
But here's the other thing, Gary, is like, how far can he go before something like JFK happens?
Well, all I know, if and when that happens, that you guys got to get a weapon and have a weapon. And
well, that's why you guys have arms down. Trudeau wants to take ours away.
Fight now to either take back your nation, or you're going to have to figure out, hey, why would God kill people? Well, why would we have to kill people, especially American citizens, when half of them are crazy?
Well, you're no stranger to war down there, so.
Well,
I hope it doesn't come to that, because, they start knocking off presidents again, we're in big trouble.
Because notice President Trump said, not only are we going to, go to Mars and all that, he said, he's allowing this crap that's going on in Seattle because people are looking. He wants people to see. Is this how you want the American country?
Wait, I heard it's chaos down there.
Yeah, well, it is, and it's
the
like,
cops can't even respond to rape calls.
He said, I could send in the troops. It'll be done in an hour. Like it was.
It would. These people are jokes.
He wants the governors, those who are treasonous and tyrants, to be exposed. They thought Trump would be commanding everything. No, he did it constitutionally. The governors and mayors had to do that thing constitutionally, not of a whim of a sole president when it's the most. He could, given his powers. They wanted him to do that. Then they say Trump's a dictator. But now look who are the dictators. Stay in. Go out to riot.
That is the irony, is that this autonomous zone is almost a proto-dictatorship.
People are getting shot. People are drugging up, shitting all over the streets, doing whatever, wiping their ass, like they do in third world nations, in front of everyone, in front of children, having to, beg, borrow. Now they want money from the government.
The dictatorship of chaos.
Right. Therefore, Trump's like, we can end this in an hour. Totally American, right? But no, let people see this because it's exposing those who are in the leaders who need to be voted out. He says that's what he was saying. If we could do all that, take this nation back, and next year he guarantees it'll be more prosperous than any other year. Why not? What do we got to lose? Or look what he got to gain. That shit.
Well, Trump's got to be careful here because if he does send in the troops and troops start shooting unarmed citizens, then the favor would
I don't believe who you see on TV. Believe me, Antifa's behind those unarmed citizens.
Oh, I know. That's how they hide, and they hide
civilian
the civilians.
Yep, and then the media. Oh, look at this! They ran after these.
But that's why you have to be careful.
Yeah, well, it comes down to revolt and war if Trump loses, because they already sold us out. It's Hunger Games. They think they're going to remain in power, have their powers over us enabled to them by the Chi-Coms and this globalist network for a new world order. And they sold us out to that shit. Satanic pedophiles. Is this who you want to lead us? To destroy us? To lead us in the cages? Take your damn organs?
Well, I'll
And
tell
worse-
you something. Satan is just the first phase. Then we get the dictatorship of Jesus Christ. And I don't think that's going to be any more better.
I don't know, man. We'll see. All I know.
Well, here, put it this way: we have a constitutional republic right now, right? Or you guys do?
And that's right. And
So
we're trying to
the
have.
government is constrained in what it can do. Versus a dictatorship, it's not constrained. You have no rights in a dictatorship. If Jesus Christ wants to kill you, he just kills you. There's no, second opinion. You're dead. And that's where we're headed. I'm sorry to say it.
Unless you rise up and fight, but yeah, you can still be dead.
The millennial kingdom is a dictatorship. Let that sink in for a minute. We're about to lose all of our rights and freedoms that we have fought for, I don't know, 300 years, probably longer. I mean, war has been going, if it's been going on for, since before we even existed.
Yeah, and if it's a part of Mars's old war and the greater cosmic war,
that's like, the ultimate end, right? Yeah.
It's holy shit, literally.
Yeah.
And that's like, wow, what about... Yeah,
but now that we know who's who in the zoo, we can make choices and get ready. That's what I'm here for, is to reveal that there's not only just two options here. There's a third option, and we can write our own future if we want to.
Exactly.
Just having it dictated to us.
We must make our fate. Exactly. All I know is that it's upon us, and these issues are real. It's not just rantings of crazy people, although some say crazy.
Like I said 30 years ago, you would be crazy. You're not crazy anymore. The knowledge that we have.
No matter what the world thinks, I experienced. Things happen. Things have been said. Things have been done. And nothing is coincidence. And I'm going to reveal this, because obviously the spirit of the Martian revelation is what's guiding me. The question is, who's
you're on the right track.
Yeah, Mike Webb, answering about.
I'm just here to confirm it. Like everything you. Yeah, it's like we
actually
got the general.
You're right on that. I think it makes sense. What you
got the general picture now. We just have to work out the details.
Yes.
So, and that's why we need to go to Mars,
Well, we definitely got to have another show. Maybe when I have Dr. John Brandenburg on again, which is coming up, by the way, he's going to be on.
I don't want to force, like.
No, it's a good discussion.
If he wants to avoid me, that's fine. Like, I don't want to force anything upon him.
What do you mean avoid you?
Like, if he doesn't want to talk about this, then I'm not going to force him.
Oh, man, you'd be surprised what he's willing to talk about with these issues.
Well, ask him first, right?
Yeah, all right, but you can always call in with a question and start that way, because he's going to be on with special guest Gregory Molinar.
I'll tell you what, if he invites me to come on, I will come on.
That'll be cool.
But it's an invitation only. I'm not going to just show up through
You're
a
invited.
question.
You're invited. You're already invited. All right. So the listeners heard you. So, if we're ever on and you have a question, just start with a question and leave more. Then I'll be like, oh, by the way, Dr. Brandenburg, Dr. J, this is, Ben here, Creighton. And, yeah, I thought that you two should talk sometime, maybe on this show. I mean,
I'd love to chat. I mean, I would.
Yeah.
The invitation is always there on my end, but it has to, like, he's ignored me for almost 5 years now, and I'm not, if he doesn't want to talk, I'm not going to just like show up during one of your programs and say, "Hey, John, remember me, the person you don't want to talk to?"
Oh, you don't have to say that to him. Then just say, ask him, start with a question. You're invited, so and I'm
well, it has
telling
to
you,
be from him at his end. That's what I'm saying.
He's not closed-minded to these discussions.
No, and I know that. I know he's not closed-minded. It could be that he just can't talk about this. Right.
Well, there's certain things,
the government has tapped him on the shoulder and said, "This is classified." And that's it.
There's been those instances, and he's been, open to me about it. He hasn't hid nothing like that, and I respect him. And
no, and I respect if the government wants him to just keep his mouth shut.
Well, yeah. But because there are things at the same time, the government said, yeah, go ahead and reveal, especially about the situation on Mars.
You know what? That might come back to haunt them. No.
Yeah. While yet they say, Dr. Brandenburg, yes, sir. The moon is classified. Yes, sir.
Well, I think he's right. And he has alluded to this. Anything related to Earth and its, inner influence is kind of restricted. So it's a little too close to home.
So if we're able to come out and know about weaponry going off on Mars, nuclear weaponry, ancient civilizations seen by the
and that's the thing. Like that is even more.
What's on the moon? Classified. That's more class. Exactly.
I know. I believe there are factions within our government that want this to come out, and there are factions that don't want this to come out. And you know what? It could have been as a fluke. Somebody in this CIA or intelligence community said, "Yeah, okay, bring this out." It could have been just as likely as someone could have said, who wasn't more that inclined in charge, who was in charge at the time, and said, "You know what? Keep this classified and never reveal it." So I think it could have just been whoever was in charge at the time.
Yes, indeed.
So a lot of it will be fluke. But now we have, with my theory, I think we nailed it.
It's more of a model than a theory at this point. It matches with other theories or scenarios.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, do you really want my theory to plan out? Because if that's the case, Earth will be looking like Mars pretty soon.
Well, there's another question in UFO Diaries after it tells us what Mars is covered with and has. His final question to that riddle was, and if so, what does that have to do with the Earth? And they show a picture of the Earth, and I freeze frame it. I grab it because I'm like, that don't look normal. It's an Earth that looks totally different. Its shape is not round. It's got, because the round doesn't go all the way around, it's got like a big chunk broken off of it, but yet it looks like a jewel, and yet it looks like a face wearing a crown, and yet it looks like the head of Horus. Is that Horus, the dog? No, who's the dog?
The dog in what?
It's Anubis. It has the head of but this has the head of a dog or a jackal-looking dog as part. And when you're looking at this picture, it's everything's symbolic and coded. What is it? If so, what it appears to be, and that's the answer. The first two opening lines, the UFO Diary, is a critical riddle where we're asked, surely no intelligent life could survive there. It shows that picture, and if it is what it appears to be, what? Okay, a code, everything I've been describing. Then it shows a picture, and if so, what does that have to do with the Earth? And then it has the Earth, as I just described, looking as. And then they have this animated blotch of blobby shit come very fast while going a swoosh sound. It's coming, and if you go frame by frame, second by second, and it looks like all this animated blob of artistical shit just coming, blowing away the earth. And then the next scene. So I'm thinking, whoa, something's coming that's just gonna destroy the whole earth. And
well,
then
now you know who it is.
yeah, but what does that? Why was the earth looking like a face? I'll put that on the archive page,
Right.
so people don't think I'm crazy. All right,
I don't
well,
know why anybody would think you're crazy.
Yeah, well, at least I'll put up evidences that help back it up, because when you see that, and that's what it says in the script, as that picture is shown, that is not the earth. Or is it a future glimpse of the earth and of what's coming? But if so, why does the earth look like as it does? Why does it also look like it's carved as a jewel? You can see the geometry of would look like a ruby. And then the face, as if it's wearing a crown, and the face looks like it has long hair. By the designs and the features of what this world that's supposed to, what does this have to do with Earth, look like before a big blob of shit comes and blows it away? And it's a question to me. Surely no intelligent life can survive there. I feel like I need to see. And that's like you just said, there you go. Yeah. But that's pretty frightening, because, again, whose face then does that represent? And what does that dog head represent? Let alone a crown jewel. A crown with a jewel. Now, okay, I don't know. But I did the line drawing too, so you can see where I'm coming from by showing the detailed image, and it's good resolution for his day. And even then, it don't look like the Earth. If it's the Earth, it looks like the Earth with no water. And is that what we would see if we were the top chunk of Tiamat, and we were blown here, according to the Anunnaki, and our planet was ruined? And there's that answer for the Marianas Trench. As it heals in gravitational, the planet, I had guests on this show say it's expanding, while yet also plate tectonics. So as it's, but yet it's like healing. The Marianas Trench is like the wounds that it was cleaved from, healing up like a giant scar.
I heard it was a plasma event too. I heard that from someone. I forget who it was. Yeah.
But it's interesting, because the blob of shit that's coming, it's like, why would it be there? And obviously, it's not a good answer. I think that's a quick, if I'm able to solve those riddles, and I'm getting a glimpse of that there's more questions, because, yeah, exactly. What does that have to do with the Earth? Why does it look like that if that's the Earth? What's this blob of shit coming to blow it away? Obviously. I mean, to destroy it, it looked like, when you go frame by frame of the animation, it goes by fast, but you have to really slow it down frame by frame to see what it looks like. And it's all intentional. It's a message.
It could be a vision of the future.
Exactly. And that's how worlds communicate. That's why I believe their claim that they're the Martians, because certainly, no one's no Houdini here enough that I have seen. And these beings claim that they were able to make this. This is how worlds communicate, stating that they designed it with based on the mastery of the knowledge of the science of language.
Yeah, the universal language.
You know how hard it was for me to say that tongue twister for many years? But I had to memorize it, because it's an attribute of them, and therefore they're higher than human. How
else would you communicate with another race? It couldn't be language based. It has to be through pictures. Telepathy. That's the universal language of the universe.
Follow after starting you out as if like hieroglyphically. It's weird. It's impossible. But Hoagland connected to its reality. And ever since the other whoop-de-doos that happened, I'm telling you, I'm walking on.
Hello?
Let alone these faces.
Yeah, you cut out again. I don't know why that happened.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about those faces or
I know.
the code. It's interesting.
Anyway,
But
did you hear what I had to say?
No, obviously. Sorry.
Okay, so what I said is the universal language of the universe is telepathy. So we have to talk through pictures instead of words, because words, who knows if they can understand it or not. But with pictures, we can understand that. So that's maybe
And
what your vision is,
started. Oh
or
my
that.
God. So you understand that, because that's how it started for me to get all these years later, where I put forth my work, and it definitely it sounds crazy, but I put it out there as evidence. If I'm being watched through time, they're seeing what I put forth to the public down through time, leaving my steps up to where I'm at now, and what I will yet do, and what need to do, or where they're going to guide me to do, depending how you look at this time maneuvering, not walking in your own footsteps type of holy shit.
Can you imagine
That's
being able to time travel? Yeah.
and that's the worlds communicate.
Hey, you know what? I do want to mention something here. And now that we're on the topic, are you familiar with Al Bielek's journey through time at all?
Yeah, not fully, but yes, I have listened
Oh,
to
has he got
interviews.
his story? I would recommend all your listeners listen to that, because he goes into detail. And actually, you can put this as another confirmatory aspect of my theory. He traveled in time to 2137 and then 2749, and wow, he saw some crazy stuff. Oh, and then year 3000. That's even more crazier. I'm not gonna wreck it. You guys listen. You put in the 3 or 4 hours. His videos are pretty long, some of them. But
Yeah, but chock
yeah.
full of information. You gotta listen
Oh
carefully.
yeah. If he is even half right on, what he's saying,
Yeah.
we're in trouble. We're in big trouble. But you know,
Yeah.
if we've had time travel since when he says the Philadelphia experiment happened, imagine what they got now. I mean,
There could be a war through time going on, and again, that gets into aspects of this show and myself, which also makes me so crazy. But yet,
no
I
way.
gotta,
You're
I
not. You're
gotta.
not crazy. Quit saying that.
Uh, there's
You're
reasons.
actually more rational than a lot of the people out there. Uh,
Well, I know. I
you're
have.
certainly not mad. I would edit that. I don't know. Maybe it's you take it as like a I don't know, a badge of honor or something.
We'll see at the end of the road. I gotta
Oh,
have faith.
I believe you.
Believe that's all I was told. I
You're
have
on
to
the
have
right
faith.
track.
Really matters. Faith really matters. I gotta believe. I gotta believe. I was told, and that gets more complex. Maybe to another conversation as follow up, maybe on the show or off that we could have. You seem.
Oh, I'd love to come
Steve
back.
Sloman I could talk to about this, and that would make a great show too. If anything, for the people to be at least entertained, which most of them are. Everything's a song and a dance.
Hopefully not too depressed.
Oh, well, it's a reality that is here that has to be dealt with.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means that they're here,
Yeah,
and it's odd because I call this Bible type technology, and what I'm doing, what I believe this is, and what I'm involved with this crazy UFO diaries and this twisted conspiracy down through time involving Hoagland to bring us to a point of, well, the ultimate Martian revelation is to be gained, and we have to make our fate. There's two sides at war with each other, a 19.5 and a 33. I mean, and you're right. Half wants to, there are those that want the truth out, and there are those that don't. And there are dark forces, pun intended, who are working on the surface as described by these Martians, if we're to believe it or anyone's even listening to me, with utmost seriousness. Maybe the 2% I'm here phased back through time to represent and to speak to help make that fate. And listen to this and take faith in it because it is true and it's what is upon us. And yet, look what we have to face. And Mr. Ben Creighton painted a big picture. Oh, everyone get his book. It's a good read. It's fast. It's worth it. And
or you could just listen to this a few times. No, I would get the book. it goes in a lot more detail than what we covered here.
I didn't want to
But
give it all away here, but
if you're trying to get it cheaply, like it is, I think $3.79 or something. The Kindle. I do Kindle countdown deals, so I usually reduce it to 99 cents for like a day or two every quarter. So if you wait for that, you'll get it cheap. But if I was gonna buy it, I would get the paperback because it has the table of contents in it, and it's just you. I like a hard copy, and we
yeah,
talked about that
and a
too.
study guide, yes, especially for the eyes, as well as old school. I like to read,
Yeah,
uh,
and
so
it's a little bit better title page because you know how it's got that picture line on it in through the Kindle edition. This doesn't have that. It's just all black, so it's a lot. I would get the paperback. It's a little more expensive, but then you get the Kindle for 99.
well, I definitely encourage you to start on that next book. It's going to take you time. I should talk.
Yeah.
I'm on page 65 of mine, which is my first one, and
I know it takes, and you know what? You're not done when you publish. I had to reread this over and over and over again to clean out all the grammatical errors, to just clean up the paragraph structure, and add a few more sentences here and there. And it took me about 3 or 4 months after I thought I was done to be
Wow.
finally done.
Yeah, fine tuning. It becomes like a masterpiece, which makes it all the more. It was meant to come out. I
Yeah.
believe that, and that hopefully, I'm sure I'll be going through that. I've already
Well,
been.
you know what, Gary? I'll help you if you're looking to self-publish. I
Yes,
I was
yes.
pretty discouraged in believing anybody would publish my book. It's pretty sensitive material, but yeah, if you ever need help, like I'll walk you through it. It's quite
Cool. I
a
appreciate it.
learning experience.
Yeah,
So.
I definitely appreciate that. All right, so yeah, we definitely got to do this again. Maybe have a roundtable with someone else joining us to
Yeah,
talk
and
about.
get people to ask them questions.
Yeah, maybe I could get that pastor guy too. Well,
You
all
know what?
depends.
I'd love a roundtable with the great Dr. John Brandenburg and what was it, Carlato? You said?
No, no. That one, I said you could invite to call in for a question on that one because I'm gonna have Mr. Gregory, yeah, maybe Dr. Gregory Molinar on with him
Molinar.
also. And by the way, he was also in that UFO Diaries. But Gregory Molinar was there from the beginning of the old Mars mission as well. He's one of the ones that found the image of the second face
Hey.
in the archives, which NASA said there wasn't one. The face was gone next time it was imaged. And lo and behold, we looked through NASA's files and we found one. Showing more details before and also showing teeth. It was a very interesting picture or something like that.
Imagine if we actually had somebody in there who wanted to find out the truth. Oh man, we'd send a probe right to the face on Mars tomorrow.
I believe they've seen the truth. I know they
Yeah,
had
they're
those
afraid. I
other
believe
faces.
they're.
Dr. Brandenburg's already attributed validity of the reality of the faces seen in that UFO Diaries as why he weighs out on the unbiased outlook on those images of what we're seeing, of why they would be there, and he gives being who he is, where he comes from, who he's affiliated with, yada yada yada, what he was a part of. So when he says that and the excuse he gives for it, it makes all the most sense. And it don't take a rocket scientist like he is to figure out what the hell he's trying to tell us in that preliminary analysis of those images. And so the hunt is on. I found other faces.
Well, so
That
did
could
he
be.
apparently.
Yes, he did exactly, and but I didn't find the ones, the tamales I call them, that were provided to us, that were not given to us by any NASA public archive, but alas through Richard Hoagland bringing them there, providing them as intelligence data, because like Richard said on my show, that same show I alluded to earlier, that he had signed documents in the past, but he alluded not having signed about any ruins that he should come in contact with on the images and he should talk about it. Of course, 2 months later, here I am presenting a video he was in showing other faces of Mars. But the thing is, he says, now, how do they get around this stuff? If they're if they're basically closed-mouthed, but yet how You get the images out on the video, basically, or in any menu. You get images out and not say anything about it. Well, that has been the model of what happened with UFO Diaries. The images are out there. He says they just put them out there. They just don't say a word about it and let the people get acclimated to those images so they don't freak out, a la Brookings, because it's given us disclosures of other faces of Mars the public's never seen. All right, he can't answer about it, but he said plainly on my show, even on the subject of what we were talking about, that someone said, well, Hoagland, look, if there's a conspiracy with NASA, why would they give out images that they don't want us to see or believe as and not say anything about them? He said they just put out the pictures and not say nothing. You released the data. Therefore, like he did with UFO Diaries, not say a word like NASA would. They just explain it away, plausible deniability, which has been, nothing new. That's what Hoagland 101 teaches you, what he went through. And everything, lo and behold, it's like, now I'm Hoagland, he's NASA. Therefore, I'm getting a glimpse of what he must have felt upon the pressures preventing him from asking questions or maybe even bringing these images forth, where he wound up having to provide these images. He was supposed to play his part in with those images, not what you see in that video. Those were supposed to be parts Hoagland was in, but he decided to leave big holes in the script, creating Mr. Cellier and them about almost $100,000 of that time's money. And Mr. Shalford and Mr. Cellier had to rewrite the whole script to cover up the giant holes that were created, the big media craters that were left by Mr. Hoagland, and to connect things that of things that were shot so that they would connect to each other. Yeah, just like my show was shot. He tried to shoot me more ways than one, and I'm not joking.
I know. I hope you two work somehow.
Yeah, it's a
really
long story.
really
it's a series of books. But my point here is this. If what he's working on and this code thing, and if I'm right, it's above him. It scares the shit out of him. Think what it does to me.
Yeah.
And therefore, and I'm being told maybe he never seen it. He's the one that encouraged me to investigate into this code. And then they're claiming they're the Martians. And look what we're talking about here tonight. And I keep wondering, well, who's the one really with the crystal ball? They're these Martians, friend or foe. I'm still on the path of where what I fully believe at the end of this, part of this Martian revelation, is going to be contact. That's already happened between myself and the designers in this code. And that, if you could follow me, take that for a second. But if they're really the Martians, I'm experiencing what Brookings also stated, that the ones that would be most affected would be the discovering scientists. And in essence, that's me with this code, learning it, fearing it. Is it good or is it evil? What is it? And then getting into these other subjects where other answers may connect to it, or things that are stated even out of your mouth, which you have no idea, but may have fit in exactly somewhere for this big picture conversation for me to paint that is yet to be fully painted. Yeah. Now, therefore, who are these beings? Are they good or evil? Because therefore, I got their spirit guiding me. Now, you see, that's what I'm concerned with, because I don't want to be a Nostradamus or definitely some type of false prophet. And the great deceptions here showing me an alien artifact because it works. And I have to use my mind, and it all makes sense. It connects to so many things and so many run from. But yet it's coming forth. I don't know. That's part of the scary factor about this, because who and what we're talking about is not just in the past sense, Ben, and everyone else.
It's up.
That means they're still there. Exactly. And therefore, even us talking about this now, just for everyone to get a glimpse of, hopefully, they're conceiving where I think this is leading us, of what we must see and consider as part of evidences of their technology that you may be involved with and you don't know, because you're thinking you're walking by your own feet. You don't know how you're scripted into place until you see yourself and learn it and go down the rabbit hole. And again, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But all I know is not asking questions, to be subdued by him and whoever else that was preventing me is not also fair, because the eye's on me. regardless down through time. So I have no choice but to continue investigating, continue studying, because I don't have all the answers. And if it is one where only one dog walks out of this pit, I swear I'm going to try to find a way, Kobayashi Maru, to bring him out of the pit with me. But if not, I'm getting out of it, because they're two sides of taking bets. 19.5 and 33. I don't know who they are yet. But
I don't like any of them.
So I'm already saying things here that certain people may be like, oh my gosh, by what they heard out of my mouth, they would consider, because it connects to what they know. Therefore, am I crazy, or are they going to be listening to me more as the Martian revelations upon us? And that's the reality.
I believe you will gain relevance as we go forward.
I think you're relevant in this. I think your next books are going to be connecting to these subjects as well, especially as my work unfolds and as what you're going to be putting forth. Like I said, your books.
I see your book in a minute.
I see that. So hopefully you get on it. I kept you long enough. Sorry, listeners. I tend to babble at times.
This is fine, Gary. I could go another hour, but you want to cut it.
Yeah, I'm sure my listeners too, but my co-producers, you know,
he's probably passed out by now.
But it is what it is. Hey, it was a great icebreaker. I think the listeners would definitely like you back. We definitely have lively conversation. And
one more thing.
So thanks. Yeah. Any last words?
I promise with a message of hope, right?
Yeah.
That's HOP, not POP. The hope is that we write our own future.
That's right. We make our fate. We must make our fate.
And let nobody determine what's going to happen to us. That's us.
Yes, indeed.
That's the hope.
All right, man.
And with that, I think that's a good way to end it.
Yes, it is. Thanks a lot for being on, Ben Creighton, and I'll have those.
Gary, we will be in touch.
Yeah, definitely. I read that book. Everyone, listeners out there, go to thefacesofmars.com. Click on the link to that book. It's only a few bucks, but it's better to get the hard copy. But either way, get it, read it.
I will try to get some author copies to you, Gary.
All right, yeah, maybe
you can sell them at a discount to Amazon.
No, I'll just give it out to the listeners. We'll have some type of contest or something. You know.
Whoever asks those questions.
Yeah, who could be the ghost to call in on the timeline down through time? We'll send them that. But that's cool. I appreciate that, and so do listeners. So with that being said, thanks for being on, and let's definitely stay in touch.
Yeah, for sure, Gary. All right, you take care.
All right, and when Brandenburg and Molinar will be on, that'll be July 4th, the night of 4th of July. So that's pretty cool. He was supposed to be on last week, but things happened. You know, I'm not getting into that now. It just pissed me off all the more. But someone's manipulating to try to keep me off the air, as well as from using the internet. I wonder why. Maybe because I got the finger on it. But anyway, only he would know what I was saying there. That's right. Johnny Finger. I fought the law and won at gmail.com. So, that being said, you have a good night, Ben. We'll talk soon. And listeners out there, man, think of the possibilities of where all this leads and all the questions that just run through my mind. And I just keep on racing because there's so many scenarios that could be in that scenario. And one of them has got to be the gist of what it is, especially in my madness of what I'm describing. You know, I just know one thing, though. People out there, they look at this like it's some type of freak, like this is freaky. But yet, space is not the boring, geeky place you had thought it was. Now you got to be brought up to speed because we're at a time now where we must be told. But yet, there will still always be those that never know why. We rock.